Ladies and gentlemen, it is race time again, and we are live for another edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control, another live stream edition of it again tonight as we are in the running of the Chevy American Revolution 400 at the Richmond International Raceway. It is going to be race number 11 of 36 on the Cup Series season in our Do It For Dale series, trying to get Dale Earnhardt Jr. his first career NASCAR Nextel Cup Series championship. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we're about to get into tonight's live race commentary, realistic commentary on the video game side of things. Again, next live race commentary will be this Saturday night, as I will be doing live commentary for the Truck Series race at Knoxville with the Cup Series off this weekend. I'll be picking up that. Of course, the Truck Series race at Knoxville is the only one of the top three series that is going to be racing this weekend. The Xfinity Series and the Cup Series will be off before they go to Nashville next week. In fact, I think all three series will be in Nashville next week. I'm definitely doing the Cup race the following weekend, and I may pick up the truck race that Friday night as well, but we'll have to wait and see on that when the time comes. But we are here. We are at the virtual Richmond International Raceway under the lights, and we are going to be set for racing. Dale Earnhardt Jr. qualified on the pole, something he hasn't done a whole lot this season. Has qualified fairly well for the most part when he has qualified, but today he is bad fast. Was one of the fastest cars, if not the fastest car in practice. I didn't see the actual practice times themselves, but in qualifying, easily got the pole on lap number 1. It's going to be interesting to see what the long run speed is going to do, because the longest green flag run I ran in practice was 17 laps. So we'll see exactly how that's going to end up panning out in this race once we get 40 plus laps into the run and the tires start to wear out on this short track. But we'll see what's going to happen. Of course, Dale Jr., at least in the Busch Series side of things, his better races seem to be in the short tracks. And he does have a win on a short track on the Cup Series season already at Martinsville. We'll see if he can get another short track win today. Also had a short track win at Phoenix. In fact, the only 3 short track races so far this season, he has finished 7th at Bristol, a win at Martinsville, and a win at Phoenix. So it's going to be a very, very good showing, I'm sure, from Dale Jr. again tonight under the lights at Richmond. Mark DeMars, Wade Solinsky, R6, and others, welcome into the stream. Let's get tonight's race underway. Dale Jr. looking to dominate a Cup race. The 2 drivers, top 2 in points, will be on the front row of Dale Jr. Carl Edwards. Green flag is in the air as they work their way down into turns 1 and 2. Jr. drives it in really deep. He didn't get up into the side of the 99, but he wanted to make sure he was going to run him up the track just a bit without actually making contact. Great initial start for Dale Jr. as he wants to lead the opening lap of the race. He will. That will be 5 bonus points. Part of the success and why this 8-car seemed really fast in practice and qualifying, he was able to keep a really low exit to both turn 2 and turn 4. We'll see if he'll be able to do that on the long run, but the short run, I think Dale Jr. is going to be the one to beat. And maybe the one to beat on the long run as well. We'll see how much of a gap he can put on these guys. Richmond, probably my best track in NASCAR Thunder 2004 and NASCAR 05, so no coincidence that on NASCAR 06 it seems to be the same thing, at least to start this race here tonight. Our Busch Series race at Richmond will be tomorrow night on the channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so Junior will be trying to go for the sweep at Richmond this weekend. '25 car owner Patrick Chatterley, welcome into the stream. Jimmy Johnson got up to 2nd initially, Ryan Newman to 3rd, and Edwards, who qualified 2nd, fell back to 4th after the first couple laps of the race. Three-quarter-mile short track, where we are at in this one. And the next race of the schedule will be another Crown Jewel event in the Coca-Cola 600 on Thursday. One car already slow in the middle of turns 3 and 4, trying to get to pit road as we have our first engine failure of the race. Couldn't see exactly who it is, but somebody is on pit road, making an unscheduled pit stop. And that is a tough break to get things started for whoever that is, to blow an engine on lap 6. Junior a bit wide through turns 3 and 4 that time. Jimmy Johnson closing the gap just a bit. Still a good drive off, though, for Dale Jr. Back to hugging the bottom lane. And trying to hug that yellow line. Doesn't get loose driving up onto the apron at Richmond, at least in the early going of the run. Again, we'll see on the longer run how that's going to work. More banking than, say, Martinsville, but it's not high bank by any means either. Primarily a one-groove racetrack right around the bottom. Half a second off the lead right now is Jimmy Johnson. Has not won a race yet this season. Had a rough performance last night in the Southern 500. He went into the race third in points. He now sits fourth or fifth in the standings. Dale Jr. moved up from fourth to second. But he's still 142 points back of Carl Edwards. And Edwards, the only driver to finish in the top 10 in the first 10 races of the season, which is why he is the points leader with that kind of consistency. And he has 2 wins as well, 6 top 5s. It's been a great season for him. But Dale Jr. with 4 wins on the season, starting to rack up these top 5s and top 10s as well. 4 wins, 5 top 5s, just one shy of Carl Edwards, and 7 top 10s. Just over 660 laps led coming into tonight's race. If Dale Jr. does dominate, he has a shot to lead 1,000 laps on the season. He's going to have to go and lead well over 300 laps today if he's going to be able to hit that marker. At least with how good the short run car is, if he can be this good on the long run as well, he is definitely going to have a possibility of that happening. It's going to depend on what the strategy is going to play like as well. Junior wants to deal with traffic the least amount of times possible. This game, we seem to get quite a few cautions. For those of you that may have watched the Truck Series race earlier today that I uploaded on the channel, it was a 50% race at Charlotte. That was actually the first caution-free race on the channel on NASCAR 06, even though it was a 50% race. There was only 67 laps on a mile and a half. Haven't had that, though, for the Busch or the Cup Series yet. Still one more 50% race for the Cup Series. That will be at Pocono in a few races. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time today. Early going of this race. Obviously, we haven't raced at Richmond in any of the 3 series on this game yet, so not exactly sure what the pit window is, but if I remember anything from NASCAR 05, it's right around 100 to 125 laps. These guys could go quite a ways on fuel at this racetrack. Again, the tire management, though, is always a big factor on short tracks, especially as you start to work yourself into lap traffic, as I'm sure we'll see throughout the course of today's race. I do feel that this is a track that we could definitely get through with not many cautions. Nathan Elliott, welcome to the stream. Just over a 1 second lead now for Earnhardt. 20 laps into the race. I think this definitely has the capability of being the fastest car Dale Jr. has had at a racetrack so far this season in the Busch and Cup Series combined. Don't want to get the rumor mill started, guys. I'm not actually going to own a Cup team in 2025. Unless I win the lottery. But I don't even play the lottery. I feel like you have to play the lottery to win the lottery, and I don't even play the lottery, so there's no chance of that happening. See the back of lap traffic as Dale Jr. is getting off the exit of the turns. Probably be another 15 laps or so before he ends up catching any of the lap cars for the first time today. Easy going for Dale Jr. in the early going. Nice smooth performance right now from Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr. did have a couple wins at Richmond in his NASCAR Nextel Cup Series career. Trying to give him another one today. I don't think Dale Jr. ever won more than 4 races in a season. I think that was the most. I think he did it 2 or 3 times. 2014, 2004. You guys would have to correct me if I'm wrong, if there may have been another year in which he had 4 wins in a season, but I don't think he ever had more than 4. And Junior's got a good shot with the way his car is pacing early on that he could get that 5th win of the season. Thing is, this is only the 11th race of the year as well. But even with the wins, he hasn't led in points yet, and he's 2nd coming into this one. Nicky Brown, welcome to the stream. I feel like being a spotter would be like you would think it's probably the easiest job on a race team on a given weekend, but it's a lot harder than what you would think it would be. Like, I feel like my mindset, I'm like, yeah, I could do this, but then I feel like I would just get caught up watching the race as a fan and not paying too close of attention to my driver. Junior does have to hope he can get through the lap traffic a lot better. Obviously, this is already a longer green flag run to start this race today than any stint he had in practice. So he's not used to this much of a tire fall off. The car still feels pretty good for the most part. 32 laps in, it doesn't really feel like it's falling off all that much. Lap times may indicate that, but as far as the handling goes, it doesn't feel much different. Junior adapting to it pretty quickly. At least for as long as he can keep this car clean for. I wonder if I've ever gone a full cup race without hitting anything. Like another car or the wall. I doubt that's ever happened. I doubt that's ever going to happen in this game. My best shot at it might have been NASCAR 05. And I can't recall ever doing it. Not that I'd make those kind of mistakes a lot, even in NASCAR 05, it's just the sake of these long cup races. Junior letting up quite a bit into turns 3 and 4. He's got John Andretti in front of him. That'll be the first lap car Junior's going to catch today. Junior being a little patient behind Andretti right now. Down on the bottom lane. Well, considering I work there, I'd be damned if Home Depot isn't my sponsor. Spirit of Black, welcome to the stream. Richmond Raceway, not Tim Richmond's home track. This is true. Earnhardt can't get around John Andretti right now. Again, this is the first lap car he's had to catch in this race. Still managing a decent gap right now over the cars of Jimmy Johnson and Ryan Newman, a couple of 2002 rookies behind him. He's not being overly aggressive, though. He's being patient behind Andretti right now. Car's definitely starting to handle a bit different in line behind him, which is not making the handle into the race car much easier for Dale Jr. to keep a hold of. It's going to be the Achilles heel for Dale Jr. today, would be the lap cars. Junior on the inside of Andretti, off turn 4, finally going to get there. Got Sykes in the 145 car on the outside as well. Andretti pulls to the bottom, right in line behind Dale Jr. Junior will lap his first 2 cars of the race. From the exit of 4 basically to the exit of turn 2 to clear him. P&R Capital Group. Oh, you guys talked about that. I don't think you'd want me to drive. I don't have any experience. You know, stock car at least. Body gonna go lap down. Terry all the way at the rear of the field right now. Jason Leffler's towards the back of the field in the 11 car. He had a top 5 in the Southern 500 last night, finished in 5th. Didn't lead any laps, but had great performance. A couple timely cautions to keep him on the lead lap. Only 6 cars finished on the lead lap in last night's race. About overdrove his race car. Trying to get to the inside of Scott Riggs. Clear Scott Wimmer with a clean pass, though. That's another thing, though, with being in traffic. You never know if an accident could happen around any given corner at any given lap. Junior being in the heat of battle. Especially with the back marker cars. Most of the accidents tend to happen in the middle and the back of the pack. Mostly on restarts. But even on a longer green flag run, it can still be sketchy. Drivers start to get a bit tired. Lack of patience starts to build up as you get longer into green flag runs as well. Goodhouse didn't have experience. He had at least some. Like, he had driven part-time in the Xfinity Series. I think he only had, like, what, 22 starts between the trucks and the Xfinity Series before he ran Cup full-time. But he had some. Even if he wasn't good and he was in back marker equipment the entire time. Jarrett the Tiger, yeah. He's actually got the old Kellogg scheme in this game. It's the original one. Bush to take over the Tony the Tiger. Well, Junior still kept his car clean up to this point in the race. 50 laps complete. At Richmond, 3 wide going into turn 1 for Earnhardt, getting squeezed. Leffler not giving him a lot of room. Casey Mears, who was up on the outside, still on the outside of Leffler as Jason cannot clear him. Oh, Leffler, a little bump and run on the 36 car. Boris Said now moves him up out of the way. These guys are all trying to get away from Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now Casey Mears sends it into the corner 3 wide. Earnhardt gets a bit loose on corner entry that time into turns 1 and 2 and will lose a bit of ground. Those 3 cars that were right in front of him, and Scott Riggs starts to slowly close in. So Dale Jr.'s car getting a little bit looser on corner entry as we are now over 50 laps into the green flag run to start this race. No cautions, no pit stops so far. Haven't hit halfway on fuel yet either. The lead was 2.9 seconds at one point for Dale Jr. over second place. Now it's only about 1.6 seconds. Jr. was getting through the lap traffic pretty smoothly there for a little bit. Until he caught Boris Said, Jason Leffler, and Casey Mears. Leffler putting the bumper down to Mears in the 41 car. Billy Kramer, welcome to the stream. Junior driving it in. Pretty deep. Hooks the yellow line all the way through turns 1 and 2. He's going to get around Boris Said to put him a lap down. Right in line behind the 41 car of Casey Mears. I'm a little skeptical about the long run handling on this race car. I was a little bit coming in just because of how good the short run car is. I was like, okay, there's no way it can be this good on the short run and the long run. And you can definitely tell even by the interval that Dale Jr. is just not as good the longer this run goes. And I'm sure, again, lap traffic has a lot to do with it. But even still, he still has not made contact with another car or the wall at all in this race. Kept it very clean as he'll finally get around Jason Leffler going into turn 3. Lead down to 1.5 seconds at the line. Lap 60. I think I see Jeff Gordon in the 24 car not all that far ahead. He's really struggling in the early going. One of the potential chase drivers would be in the chase if it started today. Of course, Richmond's going to be the regular season finale later this season, as it was for a very long time. Dale Jr. on the inside of Jimmy Spencer off turn 2. Will look to make the pass on him into 3 and 4. Gordon stuck on the outside. The 122 car underneath him. Now Dale Jr. going to make it 3 wide on the front stretch underneath the 24 and the 122. Gordon led some laps in the first half of the Southern 500 last night, but he ended up faltering to about a 15th place finish by race end. And now he's a lap down in the first 62 laps of the Chevy American Revolution 400. Junior underneath Jeff Burton in the 31 now. Jamie McMurray, Kyle Petty, the next 2 lap cars ahead of Burton. Murray going a bit wide in the middle of the corner, giving Dale Jr. plenty of room to get underneath them off the exit of turn 4. Dale Jr. can get around the 45 of Kyle Petty and get back into clean air again. That's going to be big because he's going to have a big gap before he catches another lap car after Petty. And he's already expanding that lead right back to about 2.4 seconds again. Almost wonder if Johnson and Newman might have hit a wall back there where they didn't have any lap cars that they were catching. That's how they were closing in on Dale Jr., who was still stuck behind a whole large line of lap cars. Will you win 13 games straight? I actually played NHL 22 earlier and made it to the NHL final, the Stanley Cup finals now. Knocked out the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I got to play the Oilers. I swept the Rangers actually, and then the Oilers won in 5 games over the Predators, I believe. I kind of dominated Game 2 and Game 4. That first game was the close one, though. So they tied it with well, on the accelerated clock, there would have been 3 minutes left. They ended up taking the lead another minute and a half later. They got an empty netter at the very end of the game. And I think Game 3 I won 3-1 also. But that was one. It was 2-1 most of the game, middle of the second period all the way towards the end. I didn't get an empty netter in that one. I think I scored my last goal with a couple minutes left before they pulled the goalie. That was a close one too, though. 124 laps full tank according to Mark DeMars. That seems pretty accurate. Might not push it all that far. It's going to depend on what the rest of the traffic does. Definitely don't want a short pit on a short track. 2 different times in the Southern 500 yesterday, we had cautions in the middle of green flag pit stops. And again, we've seen that a lot on this game, it seems like, no matter what the series is. Well, the truck race earlier went caution-free. Again, that was not live streamed. If you haven't checked it out already, be sure to check it out. It was the Truck Series race at Charlotte with Ron Hornaday. Pretty good race. Had a little bit of a dramatic finish to it. It's a 50% race that I recorded earlier. I didn't want to live stream it because it was only 67 laps. That was the final 50% race of the truck season. Any of the glitches with NHL 22? Personally, I haven't really had many of them. Not that I've noticed, at least. The commentary is kind of bland in that game compared to a lot of the other NHL games I've played in years past. I feel like they say the same stuff every game. It's kind of like the MLB The Show commentary there for a while, where it's just the same thing every single game. I guess Madden's kind of like that too. I guess all the sports games are kind of like that now. It's pretty repetitive after a while. Michael Waltrip at the tail end of the lead lap. He's coming off a 6th place finish. All 3 DEI cars finished in the top 6 in the Southern 500 yesterday, Mikey being the last of which. Dale Jr. finished 2nd. Mark Truex Jr. had a 4th place run. 2 rookies actually finished in the top 4 of Kyle Busch and Mark Truex Jr. And speaking of Kyle Busch and Mark Truex Jr., they're also towards the tail end of the lead lap currently. Junior's lapped quite a few cars so far. Probably right around half the field if I had to imagine in the first 75 laps. Had that clean air. He was starting to pull back away again, just over a 4-second lead as he's closing in on Waltrip and Truex. Waltrip got to give his teammate plenty of room. Dale Jr. going to clear him off turn 2. Truex stuck on the outside with Sterling Marlin underneath him. Bit of a bobble for Earnhardt getting into 1 and 2. He's had that a few times already today. Pretty much ever since he hit about 40 laps on these tires. Had that happen from time to time. Nothing major that he's had the car snap around on him or felt as if it was going to do that. Still feels in decent control. A lot of it is traffic based as well. Really low exit to turn 4 that time. He's 3 wide off the exit of the corner and through the tri-oval. Deep into the braking zone, trying to get around the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield. Clears him. Almost got up into the side of Sterling Marlin, but not quite. Junior hooked to the yellow line on the bottom. May get underneath Marlin this time into turn 1. And he does. And he'll clear him off turn 2 as well. Oscar Ramirez Herrera, welcome to the stream. 11 likes already. Thanks for everybody hitting that like button so far. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you are new. We race at Richmond again tomorrow night on NASCAR 06 in the Busch Series. Junior couldn't wait for another short track there. He's really struggling on the Busch Series season. 15th in points. Not so much in the Cup side though, sitting second in the standings. 3 wins in the last 5 races, second or better in 4 of the last 5. He's got a 4.5 second lead in the first 82 laps of this race. Junior looking low underneath Kenny Wallace. May actually get underneath of Shane Meal as well. I think he would have if he didn't have that big wiggle. Getting into the corner. He still gets underneath them on the front stretch. And he should be able to clear him through 1 and 2. And he does off the exit of turn 2. Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace, the last 2 cars on the lead lap. 21 in the 2. And Dale Jarrett, the third to last car on the lead lap in the 88. Bobby Labonte in front of him. And you can't quite tell who's in front of Labonte up there. It's like maybe one of the fantasy drivers. I'm not sure if they would already be a lap down or if they're on the lead lap. But the next 4 cars are definitely on the lead lap. At least for the time being. It might not be very long though, or Rudd's about to go a lap down this time by into 1 and 2. Quick race pace though with it being caution free so far. Almost 100 laps complete already out of 400. Race started just over a half hour ago. Still Jr. quickly passes Rusty Wallace in the 2. Patrick, I kind of agree with you on that, though. Missing races if you're below the cutoff line. If you didn't qualify well, at least. Because that was the whole thing. I mean, they have a bunch of fantasy drivers in this game where you have more than 43 cars making a start throughout the course of the season. But yeah, if you were below 35th in the owner's points, that'd be pretty cool if... I mean, it would be cool if, like, I missed it, but any of these drivers ended up missing race. Not just the fantasy drivers. Couple DJs back to back right now. Dale Jarrett, Dale Jr. And they both wiggled a bit getting into turns 3 and 4. Jarrett really crowding Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the bottom. Nearly had contact. Jarrett still crowds him through 1 and 2. And almost got the wall for the first time today off turn 2. He had to lift quite a bit to keep it off the wall. Great catch there by Dale Jr. Still has not hit another car or the wall through 92 laps at Richmond tonight. In qualifying on the pole, he has dominated early on. He has led over 700 laps now on the season and counting. John Andretti, we know, is 1 lap down already. He was the very first car to lose a lap earlier in the race. And now he'll go a 2nd lap down. Jarrett to the inside of Labonte on the back straightaway. Going to try to potentially trap him behind Mark Martin in the 6. Doesn't quite happen. Jarrett again squeezing Dale Jr. on the front stretch. Contact getting into the corner. Dale Jr. going to move Dale Jarrett up out of the way. Jarrett kept it off of the 6 of Martin. Dale Jr. going to lap them both. As well as Labonte, the corner before that. A lot of cars a lap down. Pretty manageable lead right now. All it takes is 1 caution to bunch the field back together. And once we get into the first set of pit stops throughout the course of the race today as well, that's where we're really going to end up seeing if Dale Jr. can manage this speed. And with managing the speed itself, I say that because other drivers are definitely going to be making adjustments. It definitely seemed like last night in the Southern 500, Dale Jr. wasn't quite as quick at the end of the race as what he was in the first half of the race. And Kurt Busch was able to beat him in that second half and get the win, with Jr. finishing 2nd. Jr. looking to put Sykes another lap down. A little contact. We're starting to get a little bit crowded over the last few lap cars he's tried to pass, and he's had a bit of contact for the first couple times today as a result. We'll be at lap 100 this time by. Means we're not halfway through the race, but we're halfway to seeing the trivia question tonight. Long ways to go, though, for Dale Jr. He may be dominating early, but not every time the driver leads the most laps and wins the race. We've kind of seen that a lot in this game. We don't know how he's going to be on restarts because we haven't had one yet today. We had that initial start double file, but I'm talking about single file restarts. Can he still get a good jump? Still awaiting the first set of stops. Nobody has made a scheduled stop yet. Still just the 1 car out of the race who blew an engine back on lap 6. Still not sure exactly who that was. Junior to the inside of Terry Labonte off turn 4. And having this kind of a lead to work with, Junior's definitely not going to be the first car onto pit road. He's alright if he has to give up a few seconds of that lead, staying out as long as he can, in case we get a caution in the middle of green flag stops. He's definitely going to have to be prepared for one car's pit sometime soon so he doesn't run over the back of somebody trying to get to pit road. So Again, these guys all over 100 laps on their tires right now. You just never know when any of them are going to pull into the pits at this point. Junior underneath Jeff Drayton in the 43, a little contact. In the middle of turns 1 and 2. Junior clears him on the back straight. Another lap down goes Green. Fun in the yellow now on the tire wear indicator. And we have our first takers on the pit road, it looks like right now. At least one car was on his way in. I assume it's a scheduled stop. Although not 100% sure because nobody else came in. I think it is a scheduled stop. Martin Truex Jr. is on his way onto pit road right now. And again, I'm sure we'll see others as well. Junior intentionally staying in that middle lane through 3 and 4. Definitely going to be playing it safe. He'll try to pass cars through 1 and 2, but he's got to make sure he clears them off the exit of the corner so he can get back to the outside and stay out of everybody's way. Just got the wall for the first time today off turn 2, unfortunately. That's not the way he wanted to get to the outside off the exit of the corner. Waltrip on pit road, Truex making his way off, as well as a lot of other cars. 3 wide, nearly. Brian Vickers gonna pull up out of the way. Bit of contact between the Hendrick cars of... Oh, we got trouble! Junior into the back of the 77. Nowhere to go for the race leader. Big time hit. Travis Quaffle with a rookie mistake as he hit the tire barrier at the front of pit road. Scott Riggs got a piece of it. Man, Junior just did not see him. Vickers got a piece as well. A 4-car pileup towards the pit road entrance off of turn 4. Junior involved in the accident cannot pit for fuel or tires. Our first caution of the day. After leading over 100 laps of green flag racing to start the race, what a terrible way to get that first caution. He literally had nowhere to go. Tried to get on the brakes, it was too late, and then even when he did, Vickers kind of piled into both the left rear of the 8 as well as the 77 of Quaffle himself. Junior might be the leader still, but unfortunately... No, never mind. He isn't even the leader. It looks like Ryan Newman will be the leader. No, Junior is the leader. I don't know what the shakeup is on the restart here, but the green flag's back in the air. Junior going to get to the bottom pretty quickly. And underneath his teammate, Michael Waltrip. Junior a bit loose getting into turn 3 as he's trying to get around his teammate Waltrip. Full team orders to allow the 8 to get by the 15, but it's going to be tough, though, considering Junior's on much older tires. He's still led every lap in the race so far, but he is going to have to make a green flag stop unless we get a debris caution, which isn't impossible because the 77 took a couple big hits there. Vickers had a big hit in that accident as well. Tony Stewart brushes the wall off turn 4. Leffler to the inside. I believe he's a lap down. Dale Jr. stuck up high going into turns 3 and 4. Trying to hang on to his car as he lifts off turn 2 to keep it off the wall. Junior's still stuck on the outside. He's getting freight trained now by a bunch of lap cars. Trying to get to the bottom. Barely got to the bottom on Kevin Harvick in the 29 off turn 4. Looked like it was going to be a walk in the park for Dale Jr. today, but being involved in that accident because of the 77 of Travis Quaffle hitting the tire barriers at the front of pit road, causing the accident, and Jr. had nowhere to go as he ricocheted back up into traffic. Jr.'s looking to pit at lap 120, it looks like. 120 or 121 will be the scheduled stop for the 8. He's still led every lap. Looks like it's a battle for second between Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick for the time being. And that will be an eventual battle for the lead when Junior pits very soon. Even on older tires, though, Dale Jr.'s hanging in there pretty well. Contact with Leffler. Through 3 and 4. Dale Jr. is hoping he only loses 1 lap when he pits, and not 2. Definitely needs to hold the bottom right now. Can't let anybody get underneath him, so he can hit pit road very soon. And he'll pit at lap 121, just in case we get a caution. Junior will pit this time at lap 121. He's led the first 120 laps of tonight's race, but he's not going to be leading any longer, and he'll be on his way to pit road. Oh, Waltrip just got in the back of him, and he's not going to be able to pit this time. Junior has to stay out 1 more lap. Looks like Dale Jr. is going to have enough fuel to make it in. Kurt Busch squeezing up the middle. He'll take the lead. And Dale Jr. is on his way onto pit road. A 4-tire stop. No adjustment changes. His car is bad fast today. And Kurt Busch will take the lead. And this is going to be the first lap. Dale Jr. has not led all race. Again, he could not pit for fuel or tires being involved in an accident. The only caution of the day so far. After the 77 of Travis Quaffle hit the tire barrier on pit road entrance, ricocheting himself back across the track in front of Brian Vickers, who was lapped down at the time, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was the leader, of course, and had over a 5-second lead over second place at the time, who was Ryan Newman and Jimmy Johnson. But Jr. now going to be a lap down, unfortunately. And currently back in 20th. That caution in the middle of green flag stops, it has trapped a lot of cars a lap down, but Dale Jr. gonna have to be on the comeback trail now after dominating the start of today's race. Just never easy, is it? He doesn't like a little adversity to try and battle through. The good news is Junior's got a lot of clean air around him right now, and he's got a little bit fresher tires than the rest of the field. Make up at least a little bit of the difference. No debris cautions. Only a couple hard hits that were involved in that first caution of the race, the 4-car accident. Turkey with dressing and green beans. Ate pretty light before I went to stream tonight. I had a salad. I'm trying to think what I had earlier today. I had a couple turkey sandwiches for lunch. I had, what else I had? Breakfast this morning, I had 2 sausage burritos from McDonald's, hash brown. And I started the morning with a protein bar when I walked out the door. So that's all I've eaten today. And still got to eat my dinner, and then I'll be getting more protein after I work out later because I haven't worked out yet. I think I'm up just over, I'm trying to think, before I had that salad, I was at like 2,400 calories on the day. I'm trying to eat about 3,600 a day. So I needed 1,200 more. I didn't pay attention to how much of everything I put in my salad, but I was assuming that I was easily going to get to 3,600, considering that, I mean, the protein alone usually is about 500, and the salad was light, but probably going to end up having to eat maybe a little bit of a lighter dinner, so I'm not going way over my calories. Because if I go like way over the 3,600, then I'm just going to start to get fat, but 3,600 is enough for me to gain about a pound a week with as much exertion as I have both at work and when I'm working out itself, golfing. So I always walk. Derek Booth, welcome to the stream. Again, Kurt Busch leads, trying to go for back-to-back. Remember, Busch won the Southern 500 last night and also finished third at Talladega 2 races ago. Got passed on the last lap by Dale Jr. and Carl Edwards. The position he's in right now, he could be that close to 3 consecutive victories. It would only be back-to-back today. Dale Jr. was so close to 3 consecutive wins by finishing second yesterday in the Southern 500. They're winning Talladega by a nose over Busch and Edwards, as well as winning the race before that at Phoenix. Led 170 of the 312 laps that day. Has led 120 so far in this race, but got caught up in an accident after Quaffle hit the tire barriers at the front of pit road during the middle of green flag stops. Ricocheted right in front of Junior, who was leading. Nowhere to go because he was involved in the accident. Couldn't pit for fuel or tires, pitted to repair damage. Led every lap after the restart, which was only about maybe 7 or 8 before he ended up having to pit under green, and that's why he's a lap down in 20th right now. Everybody has pitted once in today's race for fuel and tires, so pretty much equal strategy from here. Junior's going to have to find a way to come from a lap down to win this race. The good news is we have over half the race to go yet. And he does have the fastest car in the field, and that's no joke tonight. It's not like last night where it was competitive between about 3 or 4 different drivers and he had a car that was potentially capable of winning and finished second. No, tonight he flat out has the fastest car on both the short and long run. Handling not as great on the long run, probably better on the short run than the long run, but he's still faster than everybody else on the short and long run. Goes green, Dale might get the lead lap. Back. Yeah, I do think it's possible. That's a lot of cars to pass, though. That's the only problem. Kurt Busch, obviously, he still has a couple lap cars in front of him that got ahead on the restart. But Dale Jr.'s got the whole field to get around right now, except for 2 cars who are out of the race with an engine failure. I'm not sure how many cars are on the lead lap, so who would exactly be the free pass position. What position you would have to be in to have the free pass position. That's something we're really just not going to know unless we get a timing caution, or at least we're close enough to the leaders to be able to tell. Definitely not going to be able to tell from anywhere back here. Now, because it's still a longer race to the end, Junior still has to be patient like he was throughout the day leading up to that accident. Oh, there's a caution, and that's going to trap him a lap down. Debris, and Junior just ran the debris over. Oh my goodness. It's off of Scott Riggs in the 10. It's like the left front fender potentially has come off the 10 car of Riggs, our second caution of the race, and Dale Jr. ran it over with the right front tire under the yellow. Yeah, he's got a tire down. Junior's going to have to pit. Dale Jr. cannot catch a break right now. This is insane. Car ricocheted in front of him, spun in front of him, nowhere to go, piled into an accident while leading, and now runs over debris under a caution flag to cut a right front tire down. He's going to top off on fuel, 4 fresh tires here while he's in the pits, but I mean, this race went from a 10 out of 10, looking like Junior's just going to dominate and win, to now having to fight from a lap down, and he has a blown right front tire. It's all the way down on the rim. This is just unbelievable, the bad luck Dale Jr. has had tonight. From good luck to bad luck. I mean, you couldn't have had a more drastic, steep roller coaster of a downhill slope that Dale Jr. has had in the last 20 to 30 laps. That is unbelievable. And now, he's going to have to race his way through. Green flag going to be back in the air. Kurt Busch leads the field to the green at lap 142 for the restart. Junior already on the inside line with being a lap down, so he didn't have to fight to get back to the bottom. I like how Travis Quaffle's a rival of ours, even though he was an idiot who hit the tire barrier at the front of pit road and then he spun right in front of me. But He's got a lot of damage on the hood of his race car. That might fall off or bring out another debris yellow. So it's going to be crucial for Junior to potentially get into that free pass position. He's right behind the 77 right now, and he's going to look to the inside as they're 3 wide on the back straightaway. How will Quaffle race Junior? Will he try to wreck him? Junior side drafts the 77, middle of the corner, jumps down to the bottom, trying to stay out of the way and make sure he can get around him cleanly, and does. 3 wide into turn 1 goes Earnhardt underneath of Ricky Rudd and Kevin Harvick. Slides up into Harvick a little bit. And here comes Quaffle all over the back of Dale Jr. Jr. up to 15th. Can he get his lap back before a potential debris yellow off of Quaffle's race car? And even Vickers probably has damage still from before, because I thought him and Quaffle had the 2 hardest hits, but Riggs ended up having enough to shed debris as well. Caution. I don't know if Junior was ahead of Leffler for 12th or not. And I believe, yep, the hood of Quaffle has come off. That's our 3rd caution of the race. 2nd for debris. Knew that was probably going to happen. Man, Vickers still has quite a bit of damage. He might shed some debris at some point. Maybe even Quaffle's debris is not going to be completely done yet either. So Junior did not get his lap back, I don't believe, unless Leffler was the battle for the free pass position. Junior is scored ahead of Leffler right now. Junior does not want to pit in case he's still a lap down, which I think he is. Doesn't want to lose position, so just barely did not get the free pass that time. Green flag back in the air at lap 149. Junior will be the first car lap down on the restart in 12th. Dives to the bottom. He's going to be able to clear the leader, Kurt Busch, for the lead off of turn 2. So Dale Jr. from a lap down, back on the lead lap, and a caution quickly. That is exactly what Dale Jr. needed. He's back on the lead lap. And now it's starting to go right back uphill on the on the climb through the roller coaster. Our 4th caution of the race today. More debris. And this is the hood off of Brian Vickers' number 25 GMAC Chevrolet. Cautions breeding cautions in the mid stages of the Chevy Revolution 400 tonight. Dale Jr. will pit at the tail end of the lead lap now. He'll take 4 tires. He'll top off on fuel. Try to get ahead of the strategy game. Bad luck with the first 2 yellows. Just missed the free pass on caution 3, but he got back on the lead lap with a great restart through 1 and 2. And he had to nail it that perfectly because of how quickly the caution came out. They didn't even get a half a lap in before the caution after that restart. Well, Patrick, I guess it didn't have to go green for me to unlap myself. That was probably the quickest way to get it done. This is definitely an interesting race, how this is all played out. Junior's got the fastest car in the field. There's only 12 cars, I guess 13 now in the lead lap. I guess Leffler would have gotten the free pass. But Junior is back in it. And he was the only car to pit during the yellow. Green flag back in the air. Now he's going to have to try to get to the bottom as quickly as he can. He jumps in line behind Burton and right in front of Casey Kane in the 9. Look at them scatter 2 and 3 wide into turns 1 and 2. Junior really aggressive dive into the corner on the restart. Lap 155. Junior on fresh tires, trying to get team orders to get himself ahead of Michael Waltrip in the 15 car for right now. Junior to the inside, 3 wide. Quaffle's going to go way down the racetrack to block the 15 and the 8 going into turns 1 and 2. Junior looking low underneath Quaffle. Going to have to get around him cleanly. Maybe not. He got into the left rear of Quaffle. Junior's already back inside the top 5. Quaffle gonna block Dale Earnhardt way down the track. He moves him up out of the way. Little payback from Dale Jr. with a bump and run, knocked him up out of the way. Now he gets sandwiched between Waltrip and Sadler, and I think Waltrip's helping his teammate out. Shades of Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott at Gateway a couple weeks ago. Tag team in the arch nemesis throughout the course of the race. Waltrip trying to get into the free pass position. Labonte going to throw a big block on the back straightaway. Into turn 3. He overdrives it right into the side of Sen, and Sen's in the outside wall. Now Waltrip's in the wall. I think Quaffle got into him, moving him back up out of the way again. So Waltrip got in the wall there as well as the 36. They both got knocked up out of line. Crazy restart. Malachi Coate, welcome to the stream. Junior squeezes underneath Kenny Wallace. Kurt Busch still out in front for now. Junior, after being a lap down, quickly back in this race. One more lap car between himself and the leaders, as well as second and third place rather, as Junior still sitting in 4th. I think he's got to be liking the position he's in right now, knowing the speed in his car and the pressure tires. Drives to the inside of Labonte through the tri-oval into turn 1. Labonte is the first car 1 lap down right now. And quickly, Junior looks low underneath the 29 of Harvick. Harvick overdrives the corner. Way up the racetrack goes the 29 car. That's going to allow Dale Jr. to get underneath him off turn 4 potentially. Junior's definitely going to be on the inside of Harvick into 1. Harvick's mistake opened the door up for Dale Jr. to make the easy pass now for 3rd. Although he hasn't quite cleared him, now he'll clear him on entry into turn 3. Kenseth trying to get the lead on his teammate Kurt Busch. Junior underneath Kenseth. Caution! Back in the pack again off turn 4. I think Kenseth was still in 2nd. That's our 5th yellow of the race today. 1 car. Oh, wow. There was a big wreck, it looked like, somewhere on the racetrack. Can't tell who this is, but a few cars were involved. Still can't really tell who it is. I have no clue who that was, but somebody nailed the inside wall and then ended up into another car on the outside of them. Backed it into Kenny Schrader, it looked like. It looks like most of the field will stay out following the 5th yellow of the race today. Dua Joji, welcome to the stream. So bunch the field back together again. Bobby Labonte gets the free pass that time, and the green flag is back in the air at Richmond. Junior trying to get to the bottom, but he couldn't do it that time. Boris said was there, and now Sadler trying to fill the void in the 38. Junior just going to get to the inside. Off of turn 2. He'll take it 3 wide himself into 3 and 4. Underneath Boris said. Said squeezes up in line in front of Kenseth. Junior's up to P2. And stuck on the outside is Kurt Busch behind the lap cars of Kenny Wallace and Ricky Rudd. Contact. Junior using up Wallace, and he's in the lead as Wallace gets knocked out of the way now by Kenseth off of turn 2, stacking up the outside lane with Kurt Busch up there. Dale Jr. back in the lead at Richmond after being a lap down only about 50 laps ago. At first the cautions were hurting him, and then they have helped him. And quick return. After a couple hard hits with that last yellow, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more debris cautions, but this was such a quiet race, going 113 laps before the first caution, and now we've seen 5 of them between lap 113 and that restart at lap 167. All AI pretty much related. Junior looking underneath the 21 of Rudd, trying to get him a lap down. Rudd will be easily in the free pass position. Kenseth and Kurt Busch are running 2nd and 3rd of the next 2 cars behind him, and he's got a little bit of a gap as Junior clears Rudd off turn 2. Go back in the pack a little bit now. We'll alternate through the different drivers at DEI for the first time today. And first we'll start off with Martin Truex Jr. in the number 1. Truex back in the 38th position right now, 3 laps down. He was 1 lap down, and I think he lost 2 more laps because of pitting before that first caution that came out earlier in the race. Making passes for position right now, but he is going to be kicking himself if he can't get most of these spots back by the end of the race. He's passed a bunch of cars right now since we've swapped back to him. Bobby Labonte, I was going to say he lost a lot of track position, but I forgot he had the free pass, so he had to restart at the tail end of the longest line. Truex making some bold moves on some lead lap cars. Oh, contact up high. Labonte and Jeff Green got together. Green might have bounced off the wall. Truex had to go really low in the back straightaway just to keep it off those two. Now the 3 wide, nearly right in front of Truex. Still 3 wide. McMurray, Schrader on the outside. Truex still 37th. I don't think there's another car 3 laps down that is in front of him. And now we'll go to Michael Waltrip in the 15 car. And he's stuck on the outside right now in 23rd. Waltrip is 2 laps down. Going to get to the bottom off turn 4, trying to get crossover on the 0-1 of Joe Nemechek. Waltrip on the inside 3 wide. Nemechek, Casey Kane up high. There's Nemechek on the back straightaway, and they'll be able to clear Kane going into turns 3 and 4. A little bump and run on Leffler. Dale Jr. pitted during that 4th caution of the race today. But he's definitely got a lot fresher tires than the rest of the field, and he's pulling away at the front right now. Waltrip might be the first car of everybody 2 laps down, like Truex is the first car of everybody 3 laps down. Contact between Newman and Waltrip that time. Returns 3 and 4. Short muscling his way through. One more lap and we'll go back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car. We'll go to Dale Jr. now. Off of turn 2 at lap 182. Two and a half second lead right now for Dale Jr. Even with being a lap down, I think he's still got a shot. He could just continue what he was doing the first 120 laps of the race, which is lead. I mean, he still might be able to lead over 300 laps in this race today. We still have over half the race to go, and it feels like we've been through a lot already, which we have. All the cautions between, like I said, laps 113 and 167, we had 5 of them. They were all AI related, really slowed the race pace down quite a bit. Dale Jr. has survived nonetheless, and he's back out in front at Richmond following this latest restart. Believe it or not, he was a lap down at one point. All the cautions falling at terrible times, at least the first two. Cautions 3 and 4 were a bit more timely for Dale Jr.'s sake, especially number 4. Came out right after he had passed the leader to get his lap back, and there were only 12 cars on the lead lap at the time. He was able to pit for fresh tires and just mowed his way right around everybody. And he still has fresher tires than everybody else, so not only has the fastest car in the field, but the fresher tires, that's why he's pulling away even quicker than what he was earlier in the race. Just over 10 laps away from our trivia question tonight and the halfway mark in the Chevy Revolution, American Revolution 400. Only be fitting if a Chevrolet won today's race. And Dale Jr. definitely the strongest of those bow ties so far today. Trying to put a fight to the Roush Fenway Fords of Kurt Busch and Matt Kenseth, who are strong contenders. Kurt Busch leading quite a few laps of his own. Kurt Busch and Dale Jr. the only two drivers to even lead in this race today. And just the 2 lead changes between them. Kurt held on to that lead the 3 restarts from cautions 2 and 4, but not after that 5th one. Credit to the A-Team's pit crew for making that green flag stop in an awkward situation that put him a lap down, to not make a mistake and keep him from going 2 laps down on a short track, pitting under green flag conditions, because if he would have been 2 down, even with all the yellows, I mentioned it on the channel before, and just in general, how hard it is to go from 2 laps down back to the lead lap compared to 1 down. So it was a good stop for the A-Team to also put him in this situation. Just hoping he doesn't have to deal with Travis Quaffle at all the rest of the race, though, unfortunately. So he's a rival of Dale Jr.'s right now. And Jr. moved him up out of the way in retaliation already, so I would have to assume Quaffle is probably going to try to take a hit at Dale Jr. next time he sees him. Jr.'s hoping he doesn't have to see him again the rest of this race, but no, it's a short track and we have a couple hundred laps to go. I'm sure these guys will have another run in before the end of the race. And I do have tonight's trivia question already on me as well, so I won't have to pause it at all to look it up. Junior's just on cruise control right now. Not really a whole lot else to talk about, at least for the meantime. At least for 2 more laps. We'll be halfway. I would imagine green flag pit stops are probably going to end up starting for the rest of the field. I mean, they started just after lap 100. Had quite a few caution laps, but I'd have to imagine we're probably within about 10 laps away from starting to see more cars pit. So again, Junior is the only one who pitted during any of those yellow flags. Except for those who didn't hit pit road prior to the pit stops when that first caution came out. They restarted from that first yellow lap, 113. Six-second lead now for Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be halfway home this time by 200 laps down, 200 laps complete as Junior's about to hit the back of lap traffic. Time for tonight's trivia question and Richmond track fact. What is the only race in Richmond Raceway history? Oh, we got, hang on, trouble in turns 3 and 4. Somebody just got up into the outside wall. I don't think anybody legitimately wrecked there, but we nearly had another caution right in front of the leader. All right, now let's give you guys a trivia question. We'll try that again. Still a lot of smoke over there. I think it was just from the lap before. Let's try this again. Tonight's trivia question in Richmond track fact is, what is the only race in Richmond history since Richmond has been a 3/4 mile short track to not get to the 400 lap mark to end the race? So essentially, what is the only race in Richmond history in the Cup Series to end in a shortened race length since it became a 3/4 mile short track? Name the year it happened. Name the driver who won the race. That's a nice trivia question. No hints, and you have until the end of lap 220 to get the trivia question correct. First one I see correct in the chat, I'll shout you guys out. Junior to the inside of his teammate Truex. Clear him off of turn 4. It's the largest lead for Dale Jr. today, just over 6.5 seconds. And if we cycle all the way through green flag stops, Junior could go quite a ways further than everybody else. He probably doesn't have to pit till around lap 270 or so. Tony Stewart 99 is not the answer. Get unlimited guesses, by the way, tonight. Again, what was the only Richmond Cup race since Richmond became a 3/4 mile short track to finish shy of the 400 lap mark in the regular scheduled distance? Who won the race and what year did it ended up taking place? Is tonight's trivia question. Bobby Labonte in 95 is not correct. Jeff Gordon in 07 is not correct. It's definitely a tough question tonight. It's not Terry Labonte in 96. Junior's car's tightened up quite a bit since getting into this heavier lap traffic. Looking to the bottom. Ooh, Jeff Green. Somebody I thought made a mistake back there. Labonte and Earnhardt make a little bit of contact through 1 and 2. Not Davey Allison in 91. You guys have till the end of lap 220 to get tonight's trivia question. Oh, Kyle Petty up the track right into the side of the 9. Casey Kane over driving turns 3 and 4, trying to get one of his laps back on Dale Jr., I believe. I would assume that's why he overdrove the corner. He just got really tight in line behind him. That could have happened too. Dale Sr. in 93 is not the answer to the trivia question either. Never liked Richmond. Of the short tracks, I'd say for most fans, it's probably the least favorite of them in the Cup Series nowadays. I'm going to have to watch if any of these cars end up pitting anytime soon. Again, Dale Jr. was in the wrong place at the wrong time earlier, although it was not his fault. He was on high alert. He was not expecting somebody to hit the tire barrier. Pit road entrance and ricochet across the track right in front of him. Leave it to rookie Travis Koffel to do it. Looked like there was more contact. And somebody else got in the wall in 3 and 4 that last lap. And we've seen some near accidents over the last few laps, but nobody has brought out that 6th yellow yet. Darrell Waltrip in 89 is not the answer to tonight's trivia question. Again, one more time, I'll give you guys the question. Repeat it at least. Since Richmond has been a 3/4 mile short track, what is the only NASCAR Cup Series race to finish shy of the 400 lap mark or its scheduled distance? You have to give the answer in both the driver who won that race as well as the year it had happened. Junior moving Jeff Burton up out of the way just a little bit. Kevin Harvick in 03 is not it. And we have some cars pitting this time off of turn 4. Junior just hit halfway on fuel, but again, everybody else who did not pit during the last 4 cautions will be pitting as we speak. Junior's definitely being held up in lap traffic a little bit more recently. He's definitely going to be careful of anybody potentially hitting pit road sometime soon. He's going to make sure he's not going to be underneath any more cars, at least going into turn 3. Harry Gant 91, not it. Newman check early 2000s maybe from Peter Vonson. Do you know what year that was? You have until the end of this lap. You were definitely the closest. Nobody got it, but Peter Vonson was very, very close in the chat. It was Joe Nemechek who won the race. The year was 2003. That is the answer to tonight's trivia question. That is the only Richmond Cup race since it became a 3/4 mile short track to finish shy of the 400 lap mark. They had a caution with less than 10 laps to go in the race. Then the rain came with about 5 laps to go. They ended the race 5 laps short. It's the only race to end short due to rain since Richmond became a 3/4 mile short track in the 80s. Stuck on the outside of Mark Martin in the 6. Said 2003, but not the right driver. Yeah, you were also close too, Mark. Dale Jr. staying high into 3 and 4, just in case Martin or Vickers pit. Pretty big lead right now for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's going to definitely lose a lot of time if he ends up having to make a green flag stop before everybody else. Or before we get a caution, I should say. Jason Leffler making his way into the pits. 175 laps to go yet. Kurt Busch cycling off of pit road. Brian Vickers. 25 car on the outside. Kurt Busch, oh boy, he got a little loose. Went up the hill right in front of Vickers. He's already involved in 1 caution tonight. Shedded some debris at one point as well. Busch left a lot of bottom open into turns 1 and 2, and race leader Dale Jr. going to get underneath him, trying to put Kurt another lap down. Like a Waltrip in the pits currently. Jr. goes up the hill, completes the pass on Busch off turn 4 cleanly. Yeah, somebody, I didn't realize Mark Mars said Newman check 01 also. Michael Turner said Newman check 03. I don't know if, I think I might have given the answer when, at least when I saw Michael Turner's answer in the chat. Kind of had something like that a couple nights ago at the trivia question where the chat's just a little bit delayed from what I'm saying, so the timing of that might be a little off. 122 car coming into the pits, or at least looked like he was going to. I don't know, he went all the way down to the apron. One car is slow on the apron right now, might have missed the pits. And it's Travis Kvapil again. Kvapil's in the inside wall going into turns 1 and 2. Dale Jr. better be careful, because I don't know if he is holding back intentionally or not. Kvapil going to try to pit this time. He's coming in hot. Oh, man, up the track right in front of the leader. Junior got on the brakes in time. What is Travis Kvapil doing right now? Kvapil can't get to pit road. Junior right behind him. He's saying, hey, move up out of the way. Caution is out. Caution is out at lap 231. It's not for Travis Kvapil. It looks like somebody else about missed pit road and hit the tire barrier at the entrance, and this time it was Scott Riggs in the 10 who was actually involved in the first caution of the day. He's already got heavy damage to the front of his race car. That is insane. Dale Jr. not too happy with Travis Kvapil, that's for sure. He's going to pit right now during the caution flag from the lead, as will everybody else who has not hit pit road yet. That's going to trap even more cars a lap down. 4 tires and fuel. Topping off of fuel will be Dale Jr. It'll be his 4th stop for fuel and tires today, because he has pitted for fuel and tires during a couple cautions already as well. 1 green flag stop, 3 pits under yellow. Sizey, welcome to the stream, and this weird race continues following caution number 6 tonight at Richmond. It's probably the weirdest Richmond race of all time, the way things have played out so far. We're not even to lap 300 yet. And everybody still has to pit one more time. Kenseth's going to win the race off of pit road, and Kvapil and Jr. come out right next to one another. I think he is a lap down anyway. Oh man, Harvick on the what the green flag back in the air. Harvick just ran right in the back of Dale Jr. Jr. squeezes his way back to the bottom. He's got Kvapil right in front of him on the restart. Jr. gonna get underneath the 77 car. Trying to quickly get away from him into turn 3. Jr. drove it in deep. And he's back up to 2nd. Kenseth leading his first laps of the race today. Trying to get around the lap cars. He's going to go 3 wide underneath of both Sterling Marlin and Kurt Busch. Off the apron goes Kenseth. Oh, he got loose! Junior intimidated Kenseth off of turn number 2. Kenseth got a bit loose. Junior's underneath him for the lead through 3 and 4. Kenseth won the race out of the pits to get 5 bonus points, but Junior is going to get around him after intimidating him. And now Junior leads at Richmond again. I think when the caution came out, Kvapil was actually in front of Dale Jr., so he may have still been on the lead lap. We have a slow car right now in turns 1 and 2, working their way on the back straightaway. Somebody's just blown an engine immediately after the restart. It looks like Daryl Sykes in the 145 car, one of the fantasy drivers, as they go into turns 3 and 4. Hopefully the field's going to get around him. And it looks like they will. And Sykes should be able to get to pit road this time. A wild race today at Richmond. I still don't think the cautions are done. We had a 113 lap green flag run to start this race. Who would have thought we would have 6 cautions in just over the next 100 laps following that? Again, all AI related. $160 laps remain. We're going to take our final field pass of the race next time by at the start-finish line, and we'll see where Michael Waltrip and Martin Truex Jr. have cycled out in this race. Just past the halfway mark. And we'll start off with Michael Waltrip first in the 15 car. Currently, Waltrip is in 26th, 4 laps down. We've had 2 cautions in the middle of green flag stops, just like we had in the Southern 500 last night. This is just a game you do not want to pit early. Because it seems like we get cautions in the middle of green flag stops. Not all the time, but most of the time. Deep dive into the corner for the 15. 24th. He's gained a couple spots since swapping over to him. And even Dale Jr. was on the wrong side of that first yellow, but the pit stop sequence. Luckily, he had a strong enough car. He was able to nail the restarts, and all the other cautions we had in the race after that first yellow also allowed him to get back on the lead lap maybe a bit quicker than we otherwise would have expected. Waltrip's mowing his way through these cars right now. One more lap and we'll go and see where Martin Truex Jr. is at in the running order. Last we saw of him, he was 3 down. Not sure if that's still the case or if he's even more laps down than that. I mean, Waltrip was 2 down the last we saw of him, but now he's 4 down. And we'll go to Truex in the 1. Stuck on the outside off turn 4. Up one more spot is Truex from the last time we saw him, and it's probably because of that engine failure from Sykes in the 145. Truex is 5 laps down now in 36th. Happy Flag Day. I guess I didn't realize it was Flag Day. You know, Dale Jr. doesn't have fresher tires than the rest of the field right now. He's just flat out faster. He's on equal tires with pretty much everybody else who's on the lead lap who did not pit prior to that last yellow. Probably going to see some cars pit as soon as that window opens up. Wonder if we're going to get another debris caution potentially from the 25 of Vickers. After he hit the pit road wall. Truex underneath Jeremy Mayfield. And another car as he was 3 wide. Now we'll go back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the rest of this race. Kenseth's starting to reel Dale Jr. in just a little bit. Jr. hasn't made any adjustments through the pit stops he's had so far tonight. And he has just clinched the most laps led, and we still have 148 laps to go. It's not really the acceleration off the corner that Earnhardt's better than everybody else. It's just able to keep a much slower exit, shortening the really time on the racetrack. Taking the shortest way around is just the fastest right now for Dale Jr. tonight. Is Quaffle lap down or on the lead lap? He was lined up in the outside lane like he was on the lead lap. So he must have been. Junior just bottomed out off turn 4. Not a major issue. Sure enough, though, it's another DEI versus Roush car for the 4th straight race now. And who will get the upper hand this time? Comment down below how many cautions you think we're going to see tonight. We've had 6 so far. 5 of them in the first half of the race. 1 so far in the early going of the second half of the race. Most we've had in a cup race this season is 11 at Phoenix, which was actually the last short track. And most we've had on this game was the Busch Series race at Texas, where we had 13. Quite on pace to be able to get to any one of those 2. Seen a lot of debris yellows though, so you never know. You never know if a caution may come out in a weird spot where we don't know if these guys can make enough fuel to the end of the race or not. They're still outside the window as of right now. Billy Kramer says 4 more. Under 40 laps left. Things have at least calmed down just a bit. Junior's really starting to get away from Kenseth now. He was hanging on for about 10 to 15 laps after the restart. He was within about half a second, but now he's over a second and a half off the lead. The longer this run goes, he's just not able to keep up with Dale Earnhardt Jr. We'll alternate through the different camera angles one more time in today's race for about the next dozen laps. And then after that, we'll stick with the far chase cam with Dale Earnhardt Jr. the rest of the way. At this pace, none, maybe 1 caution. We've had cautions twice in the middle of green flag stops, and there's still 1 more stop left at the end of the race, so I think we're going to get at least 1 more based off of that alone. And we've had a wreck on a restart already once too. Not a debris yellow, not just debris yellows off the restarts, but legitimate wreck off a restart one other time. Still don't know who started it. I just know Kenny Wallace was in, or Kenny Schrader rather, was involved in it. So he just overdrove turn 3, kind of T-boned himself into the outside wall off of Schrader, who was on the outside, and then somebody else got a piece of it down on the bottom of the track. Both the cars were coming back down the banking. But every wreck has been in turns 3 and 4 today, though. None of them in turns 1 and 2. 3 and 4, a lot more narrow corner entry with the straight backstretch, making for a more sharper angle into turn 3 versus turns 1 and 2, which is a lot wider. You have more asphalt on the track to work with. Plus, you're already turning going into the corner. It's a little bit higher speed. You have to brake quite a bit more on the backstretch to get the car to slow up to make that awkward angle corner. Sharper angled corner. Field definitely getting pretty spaced apart right now. They can definitely be even more spaced apart once we get into lap traffic. That's something Dale Jr. has kind of been inconsistent with. He's definitely seeming like he's been getting better through the lap traffic the more he's had to work with it in today's race, because at the very start of the race, it seemed like he was struggling a bit more in that opening fuel and tire stint where we had that first caution. Really, ever since then, he's been a lot more smoother getting past those guys. Only 4 cars on the lead lap in this race right now, though. 5 if we do get a yellow, and more on beyond that, considering drivers could get the free pass position if you're the first car 1 lap down to the timing of a yellow. Billy Carjoy, welcome to the stream. 2-second lead now for Earnhardt. Can he make it 4 races of second place finish or better and try to get now 4 wins in the last 6? 3 of them on short tracks. If he wins this one today, he has already clinched the most laps led. Has the fastest car in the field. We'll have competitions if we get restarts. Potentially see Junior involved in another wreck. That would not be great either. I say another, it was involved in one because Quaffle hit the tire barrier at the front of the pit road entrance. Then he almost caused another wreck where he nearly got into the barrels at the front of the pit road entrance again right before we eventually ended up having Scott Riggs do it. He pulled up on the track almost into the side of Earnhardt. Earnhardt had to brake and dive bomb underneath him to miss him, and those two are already rivals. After Dale Jr. accidentally ran into him the first time when Quaffle hit the barrels and then ricocheted right in front of Earnhardt. I don't know why Quaffle was upset about it. Earnhardt and Quaffle have definitely gone back and forth since then. A few times. And they're both on the lead lap and one of the 4 cars on the lead lap. Over a 2.5-second lead now for Dale Jr. So that episode they had Clint Boyer on then of Triple D, was that in Emporia, Kansas where he's from, or was that just somewhere random? Go back to the far chase cam for the rest of the race, this time by. Now a 3-second lead for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Pit window likely going to end up opening up very soon here. At least for Dale Jr., it'll probably open up in the next couple laps, but he is definitely going to stay out as long as he can. Oh, the one in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, I guess that makes sense, too. That is NASCAR's headquarters. Dale Jr. in overall race pace today has had as much of a 9.5-second lead at one point. So this definitely isn't his largest of the day. Even largest of the second half of this race. Again, he's going to have to keep an eye out, though. Especially in turns 3 and 4, because we're getting close to green flag stops again. At least for those who are going to short pit to the finish. You don't have to pit right now. Really hoping this feud between Travis Quaffle and Dale Jr. ends today and does not keep up going into the next race, considering the next race is the Coke 600. That's the last thing you want to do is deal with something like that for 600 miles. Oh, we got a near wreck off of turn 2. Casey Mears got in the walls. They were 3 wide in front of Dale Jr. Jr. got into the back of Shane Meal as he couldn't check up in time. We stay green. That was nearly a wreck right in front of Dale Jr. right at the edge of the pit window. And Meal not happy with Dale Jr. even though he had nowhere to go and tried to get on the brakes in time and couldn't. A little bit of damage to the front bumper of the 8. A lot of just odd coincidental things have been happening right in front of Dale Jr. in this race. Meal trying to go down towards the bottom. He's gonna, oh boy, Junior drove it in deep into the inside wall. They're 3 wide off turn 4 up ahead. Mears might have gotten into the wall a bit. Junior trying to block the 122 car, who now overdrives turns 1 and 2. Goes up the hill, a little clearance for Junior, and Junior's only got about a 1.3 second lead over Kenseth now. He's really struggled in lap traffic all of a sudden. Hoping Meal doesn't take a swing at him. Junior's already had enough with one rookie today. He doesn't want to have to deal with another one's tomfoolery. While leading. Only adding extra adversary that he'd have to fight through. He is going to get around Meal cleanly. Meal never took a swing at Dale Jr. luckily. Jr. going to get around Mr. Excitement Jimmy Spencer as well, and around Spencer's old ride, the 41 for Chip Ganassi Racing, now driven by Casey Mears. Winter NHL game, nice. Keep that playoff hunt alive. Casey Mears just got back to the inside of Dale Jr., crossing him over. Jr. on the outside. Into turns 1 and 2. He's going to hold the outside lane, and we'll have plenty of room to drop back in line behind Mears as he's going to have to try and pass him again. Caution again. Oh, trouble! Right in front of Earnhardt. Again, it's Scott Riggs. Oh boy, Dale Jr. got on the brakes just in time. Riggs tried to pit early, I believe, and he hit the pit road entrance a second time today. Got a clip of Casey Mears. I think John Andretti piled right into him. Yeah, Andretti actually got pushed by Kyle Petty into the 10 of Riggs, and Dale Jr. was able to check up just in time. And he's going to pit under the yellow. That's our 7th caution of the day. And I would imagine everybody's going to be pitting right now. 4 tires and fuel. Junior can top off. This will be the final stop of the day. I'm going to have to remember that next time we go to Richmond. Well, tomorrow night in the Busch race, that's probably going to end up happening too, I'd have to imagine. Unless it's just a freak thing for tonight's race. Luckily, nobody ran into the back of the 8 of Earnhardt when he checked up. Kenseth wins the race off pit road. Harvick second. Johnson, who I don't think is on the lead lap, third. Yeah, Johnson not on the lead lap. So Dale Jr. will lose 2 spots on pit road. Kenseth for the second time today will win the race out of the pits. Green flag back in the air at Richmond. We have 108 laps to go. And everybody's going to be good on fuel to the end now. Quaffle. Going to get underneath Dale Jr. Jr. backing way out of the gas. He's going to be able to get to the bottom of the back straightaway as he lost a spot initially on the restart, but now he overdrives the corner. Rusty Wallace didn't actually get into him, but Junior had to go up the track to keep it off him, and he ended up in the side of Kurt Busch. And now Junior stuck on the outside of Busch again. He's got plenty of time to get back up here. He's not going to worry about being too aggressive. He knows he has the fastest car. It'll come to him. See if the yellows are done today or not. I mean, that could lead to more pit stops under caution, but these guys won't have to worry about any more green flag stops today with being good on fuel to the end. One car's coming off of pit road right now. Oh, and Boris Said has just gotten into a crash with Dale Jr. as he squeezed him into the wall off turn 4. Kenny Schrader goes for a spin as well. Said just overdrove the corner right into Dale Jr. and backed right in front of the 49 who tried to gas it up to get around him on the inside and just ran out of room. Caution number 8. And Jr. going to have to pit. Not for fuel or tires. Looked like Quaffle got around Kenseth, and actually Harvick got to the lead right before the caution came out. These guys are good on fuel and tires to the end. This is going to add more damage to Dale Jr.'s race car. He was fine with being patient, but then Boris Said a lap car was not clear of Earnhardt off turn 4 and squeezed himself and Earnhardt into the wall. And unfortunately, Kenny Schrader was also involved, running into the 36 of Said. Is that the reason why Boris Said only runs road courses? Doesn't know how to tell when he's clear on an oval? Not sure who would have gotten the free pass that time, but somebody probably did, as well as the caution before that. Green flag is back in the air. And here we go, 101 laps to go. Junior wants to get back down to the inside. Wasn't able to last time. He's going to squeeze Brian Vickers out of the way so he can then get to the bottom this time around. "100 laps to go at the line. Is this the final restart of the race? A lot of lap traffic in front of the leaders. I don't know how Quaffle's in second, but he is. He's trying to run down Harvick for the lead. Kenseth right behind him. Earnhardt going down to the bottom. Ryan Newman in the 12 trying to squeeze the 8 of Dale Jr. Jr. going to get there. Jr. looks low on Kenseth on the back straightaway. Kenseth with a block into the corner. Oh, he got into Martin. Caution's out. Kenseth and Martin have wrecked in 3 and 4. Kenseth overdrives the corner right into his Roush Fenway teammate. Both cars into the outside wall. Kenseth whiplashed pretty hard. Everybody had to miss to the inside and outside. And we have now caution number 9. And oh boy, this is turning into a truck race. A 2022 truck race. Junior got around Kenseth before the caution came out, so he's going to be in 3rd on the restart this time. I don't know if any restart's going to be the last at this point. Getting more and more damaged vehicles as well. Green flag going to be back in the air. Somebody else back on the lead lap behind Kenseth. All the late yellows, but I'm not sure who it is exactly. Newman slid up into the outside lane right in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Kenseth's in the wall off of turn 2. Jr. going to get to the bottom in the middle of 3 and 4, right in line behind Jamie McMurray. Harvick crisscrosses around the 6 of Mark Martin. 3 wide to the inside goes Junior underneath the lap cars of Jason Leffler and Jamie McMurray. Now he's underneath Martin off turn 2. That's a great song, by the way, Mark. Dale Jr. to the inside of Travis Quaffle. He's going to make a clean pass on him off of turn 4. All clear. Wanted to make sure that Quaffle wasn't going to hit him. Junior barely stays in front of him off the exit of turn 2. In second place. Quaffle overdrives 3 and 4. He's going to go way up the track. Quaffle still without a hood. Now we have a battle for the lead between Harvick and Junior. Junior, the great exit to turn 4, and he's underneath Harvick for the lead into turn 1. Roughs him up just a little bit. And Junior will be clear off of turn 2, and he's back out in front at Richmond. But he's going to kind of overdrive 3 and 4. Harvick going to get underneath him. Junior's in the wall. Pushed a little too hard. Going to need to try to get around him again. Harvick trying to throw a block. He's going to overdrive turns 3 and 4. Here comes Dale Jr. again to the inside of the 29. Harvick with the mistake that time. 89 laps to go at Richmond. And Dale Jr. should be able to clear Harvick off turn 2. And does. And Quaffle trying to get to the inside of the 29. Harvick looking for the block on the 77 of Quaffle. Junior protecting the inside off turn 4. Caution. Back in the pack. Race is not going to be over yet. Oh my goodness. We're going to get another restart. That's our 10th yellow of the race. Debris off of the back of Matt Kenseth's race car after backing into the wall, bringing out that last caution before this one. He's obviously got heavy damage. Well, here's another restart. Green flag back in the air. Junior trying to get to the bottom. He's going to get down right in front of Newman. Trying to cross over the 6 of Mark Martin. Got into Martin just a little bit. Into turns 3 and 4. Mark doesn't have a lot of damage from that accident he was involved in with Kenseth a little earlier. We are 1 caution away from tying the most in a cup race this season. Dale Jr. has gotten back around Mark Martin. Toxic young boy, beast mode Vader, Dora's fat. Welcome to the stream. Oh, now Martin gets into Dale Jr. Jr. saves it. Martin saved it. He's trying to cross him back over to get back on the lead lap. And he did. Junior still in the lead. A lot of lap cars between himself and second place right now. That's going to help. This is not an easy finish to the race, and an easy race at all for Junior. Time and time again, something happens. He just has to hang on. He's going to be able to clear Martin with a clean pass through 1 and 2. And hopefully with the clean air, he can drive away now with 80 laps to go this time by. Junior knows he's got the fastest car in the field today. It's still far from over if we get any more cautions. Recreated Dale Sr. on NASCAR Heat 4. 20 likes on the stream right now. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you have not already. And a wild race today at Richmond. Dale Jr. trying to ride off into the sunset to get his 5th victory of the season. They keep the hot streak alive. It has been absolutely wild today. Based off of the cautions pretty much alone, how they've fallen. With the crazy incidences, a little bit of a rivalry between Quaffle and Earnhardt along the way. And Quaffle is on the lead lap, the rookie looking for his first career win. Restarted in 3rd. I think Kenseth may have gotten back around, I'm not entirely sure. Kenseth's got a lot of damage though too, so I'm not sure exactly on that, but Quaffle's definitely in the top 4 right now. If he has a shot at Dale Jr.'s back bumper on a late race restart, I'm sure he's going to punt him up the racetrack. Maybe even turn him, who knows. Thanks for hitting that like button, by the way, Toxic Punk. And you're slowly getting away from second on back, as well as those lap cars between them. Looks like Kevin Harvick's working his way around Mark Martin right now. Harvick is in second. It's 1.6 seconds off the lead. We know he doesn't have a car capable of running down Dale Jr., especially Jr. having a lot of clean air. Now, if it does stay green to the end of the race, they will catch lap traffic, and Junior's been inconsistent with the lap traffic today. He struggled pretty harshly at times, but he's also gotten through it pretty cleanly at times also. The stat sheet, Junior's going to dominate this race. It didn't feel like that at times today. Especially really from like lap 113 on. Like I mentioned, it has been a roller coaster of an event. The different strategies off of cautions, and he still found his way to the front. He was a lap down at one point due to a couple of ill-timing cautions. That first yellow then had a debris yellow. A piece of debris fell off of one of the cars involved in the first accident. Dale Jr. ran it over and ended up blowing a right front tire. Had to pit when he was a lap down and was able to actually get back in the lead within about 50 to 55 laps. Because there was a few more cautions that followed where he was able to pit for fresh tires, get around the lap cars and the leader, and get a quick yellow again, and pitted again for tires, and was easily able to get back to the lead. Had cautions in the middle of green flag stops 3 times today, twice last night in the Southern 500. This has been wild for sure, and the Busch Series races seem to have a lot more yellows. And we have a Busch race tomorrow night at Richmond. It'll be 250 laps. And our coverage will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. So that will be the next live stream on the channel. Do it for Dale Series, Busch Series edition. There's no all-star race on this game, so even though the Coke 600 is the next points-paying race, unfortunately I will not be able to race the all-star race. It is in this game, but only on the career mode. Not on the actual season mode or on the Race Now mode like in NASCAR 05 and NASCAR Thunder 2004's playthroughs. And everybody is good on fuel to the end of the race. Part of why nobody's pitted during the last couple cautions. Junior's definitely going to be taking this track position to the end. Even if we get late yellows, he's going to feel more confident of just staying out of the pits Even that one other time he was on older tires at the front of the field, he still led every lap leading up to his green flag stop. He wasn't really pulling away, but he was able to hang on and still had decent stability in the car. So he knows he doesn't have to worry about the pit crew potentially making a mistake. It's all on his shoulders the rest of this race, and it's his to lose. Nearly a 2.5 second lead now. Got you back into watching NASCAR in some form. A little closer to the sport than most. Grew up in the Winston series and your family worked on the Wood Brothers. Oh man, that's pretty cool. Glad you're back into it. Hopefully you're having fun watching this season. It's been pretty spectacular, to say the least. Racing we've seen on a fairly week-to-week basis in the Cup Series. Harvick a little bit quicker than Dale Jr. the last couple laps. I think Jr. was just kind of caught napping a little bit. Sure he can just ramp up the intensity real quick. Start to pull back away again. The big deal is going to be not only lap traffic for Dale Jr. when they get there, but also, again, obviously, if we have to deal with restarts, because he has struggled off and on those today as well. They've been just so wildly chaotic. We've seen a few wrecks off of them in the pack. Yeah, I appreciate you. I definitely seen you in the chat quite a bit, especially recently. Up to 24 likes on the stream right now. I think we had 26 at the end of the Southern 500, 26 or 27 yesterday, so we're only 3 shy of that right now. In a shorter race nonetheless, so appreciate you guys hitting that like button tonight. Great job with that most nights. Seem to be liking this Do It for Dale series. I can't wait for the next live race commentary on Saturday night. The Truck Series at Knoxville. And I will be commentating the heat races as well as the main event that night. So starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Saturday night will be the commentary for the heat races. There's likely going to be 2 separate streams, as there will be probably about a 1-hour break between the end of the heat races and the main event at 9 p.m. later that night. So likely 2 streams that night. We'll be commentating both. A long way to just sit and wait for the white flag for Dale Jr., hoping it stays green. Still 56 to go, especially in a race where, again, we have seen 10 cautions. You don't know how many cars have damage that we could potentially see. Any debris yellows. We're 1 away from tying the most in a race this season with Phoenix just a few races ago. Yeah, Cup Series is off this weekend. Trucks are on though. Growing up in a little town right outside of Charlotte. Have a lot of the guys, Tony Stewart, Jeremy Mayfield, Fatback McSwain, Chocolate Myers, Gary Dodson. Some legendary names there. Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson. Well, I asked you guys before how many cautions you think we're going to see in tonight's race. We're up to 10 right now. The next question is, do you think we're going to see another caution before the end of this race? Do you think it is going to stay green to the end and Dale Jr. is just going to cruise his way to victory with ease? It's probably the most wild Richmond race I think we've had in the EA Sports games. They seem pretty straightforward. I usually dominate them, and I have in laps led, but with the scenarios we've had tonight, it has definitely made things a lot more difficult for myself. There's nothing really I could have done different about it either. It's just been untimely yellows majority of the time. A couple of timely ones in there, but mostly untimely. Really, any of them from now to the end would be untimely because Junior has a 3.5+ second lead now with 50 to go. 50 laps in a short track is going to click by quick, as long as it does stay green. Billy Kramer says 2 more. NBC taking over broadcasting for the races. Yeah, their first race back on is going to be on the main NBC channel, if I remember correctly, when they go to Nashville in a couple weeks. A little later start time that day, too. I think it starts at 5. It's not quite going to bleed into the nighttime because it doesn't really get dark. Well, that it's Central Time, too. So it'll really only be 4 p.m. Central and 5 p.m. Eastern. They'll still have about 4 to 5 hours of daylight to get it in. Well, plus they have lights at the track anyway. So even if there was rain, they would just end up finishing in the night. Shouldn't be any major issue getting that race in that day. Definitely a much later start time than we're used to for Sunday afternoon races. Even when we have been getting used to the later start times recently, not quite that late. Over 4 p.m. local time. Haven't really seen much of Carl Edwards tonight. With that being said, his top 10 streak could be in jeopardy. Finishing in the top 10 every race so far this season. Dale Jr. second in points coming into the race to Edwards. This is as high as Dale Jr. has been in the standings all season. But he's 142 points out of first. Mathematically, he could take the points lead today. But he would need Edwards to have a pretty bad day. We know if Dale Jr. wins, it'll be a max points day because he by far has led the most laps. And also coming into this race today, Dale Jr. would have needed to lead 336 laps to eclipse the 1,000 lap lead mark today. I mentioned at the start of the stream that it was possible. I think he's definitely going to lead over 300 laps. I don't know if he's quite going to get to 336 or not, but he's going to make it close. Halfway on fuel right now, just over 40 to go. Still plenty good to the end. Yeah, Fox is carrying the Truck Series races. Jesse Xfinity and Couple move to NBC. I think ARCA also moves to NBC as well. I could be wrong on that, but I think they do. I think all the ARCA East and West races are always on NBC regardless. So maybe the main ARCA is still on Fox. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I really don't watch the ARCA series. Seen parts of 2 races this year. Saw part of the Talladega race when I was on break. I didn't get to see any of the race because they were under red flag for that one accident. I can't remember the guy's name that ended up breaking his leg in the trial, so I didn't even see a lap of it. I just saw a bunch of replays of that accident when I walked into the break room at work. And then the only other race I saw was Daytona, the season opener. And that's because I was there in person. And that was probably the most boring race I think I've ever seen in person. No matter what the motorsport is. Caution. Debris on the back straightaway. Junior saw it and he missed it to the outside. And that's going to tie the most cautions we've seen in a Cup race this season with 11. I'm not sure who it was off of. John Andretti. Off the 14 car of John Andretti. who's running towards the tail end of the field. Well, Junior's going to stay out. I would assume the rest of the leaders probably going to stay out also. Keep their track position. And we're going to line them up again. Craig Franklin, welcome to the stream. Green flag in the air. 35 laps to go at Richmond. Contact on the restart between Dale Jr. and he got into the lap car on the bottom of Rusty Wallace. Jr. still on the outside right now, off turn 2. Again into Wallace, just aggressively trying to move to the bottom of the racetrack. Maybe a little too aggressive. Now he gets to the bottom off of turn 4 between Kurt Busch and Rusty Wallace, and he is able to hold on to the lead. Junior has cleared Mark Martin on the backstretch. Back to having the clean air again and looking to drive away. One more yellow will have the most cautions in a cup race. Emma Wren's calling my name. I hope so. It'd definitely be a dream. Now, Andretti was involved in that caution way back when Riggs hit the tire barrier a few yellows ago. So it's odd that he went about, what, 60, 70, 80 laps between that caution and the time he actually shedded the debris off the race car. I'm trying to think of who else was involved in that accident. I know Kyle Petty was. I think Casey Mears also got a piece, but Mears kind of just got skimmed on the left rear corner panel. Petty actually ran into the back of John Andretti, which forced Andretti into the spinning 10 car of Riggs. Maybe Riggs could have some damage that can shed from it still if he's still in the race. Maybe Petty has a lot of damage to the front of his car that could shed for debris, and we could see a yellow that way. And of course, there's always the likelihood of seeing another wreck with everybody bunched together not too long after the restart right now. The Junior definitely had the best restart of anybody on the lead lap that time. Didn't take long for him to get back around Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin. The lap cars off the restart, and he's quickly out to a 1.3 second lead and growing once again with now 28 laps to go this time by. 100 degrees for your match. Yeah, it's going to be 100 degrees tomorrow and 95 on Thursday. Thank goodness I really didn't have to work today like I was originally supposed to today, so I was able to get out of the heat. I will say it is very hot in my room tonight, obviously. I always mention it's hot in my room, so when it's warmer outside, it's even warmer in here. If you see me wipe my face at all, it is because I'm sweating. But it's alright. I still have enough energy, though, that I need to get a workout in when I'm done. And I'm still motivated to do so that's good. I'm not feeling exhausted. It's like basically sitting in this hot box for just over 2 hours. Tomorrow might be a little more brutal. Granted, it's a Busch race, so it's 150 laps shorter than this one tonight. Same track, so maybe it won't be that bad. Thursday, when it's 95, though, is when I'm doing the Coke 600. Oh, my goodness, I'm gonna be in here for like 3 to 4 hours. On the verge of passing out. I'm kidding, I'll stay hydrated. I won't pass out. Gonna need to stay hydrated for that one. .24 laps to go this time by, up to 26 likes on the channel now. Thanks for everybody hitting that like button. And subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as well. Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to coast his way to victory. A lot of carnage in this race today, but for the most part, he's kept his car clean, and that is why he's out in front. He still kept the speed underneath the hood of the number 8 Chevrolet, and he's looking for his third career win at Richmond. Well, eventually, by the end of his career, it'd be his third. At this point in time, it wouldn't have been. Now, if the caution ends up coming out, we get a restart with 10 or less laps to go. Again, the rules as of the 2005 season would entail that all the lap cars would have to restart behind the lead lap cars. So it might create more of an opportunity going into turn 1, especially for whoever would be in second, which I would assume is probably still Kevin Harvick, to potentially get around the 8 of Dale Jr. a little bit easier and having to deal with the lap cars on the inside. And if Travis Quaffle in any way, shape, or form is up there, knowing he has already had a couple run-ins with Junior back and forth today, maybe he will even take the 8 car out. Hopefully, for Junior's sake, that doesn't happen, but that is definitely a possibility. But if we get down to 5 or less laps to go and we get a caution, it could end the race. If it gets too late, might not get another restart. Or it could just stay green to the end and Junior can mosey his way into victory lane. I know Dale Jr. would take the latter of those 3. He's definitely going to have Richmond circled at the end of the regular season if he's got a shot at the regular season championship to have another solid run here. It'll be interesting to see if that race will be as crazy as this one. We'll have to wait quite a while before we get back to this track again this season, but at least Junior knows at least somewhat of what to potentially expect. I don't really drink Gatorade. I always preferred Powerade over Gatorade. Even then, I never really drank it much. Especially now, I couldn't tell you when the last time I had one of either. I'm like all strictly water now. I do drink quite a bit of milk too, though, I guess, but mostly water, obviously. The milk is like in the morning. Nice glass. Bowl of oatmeal. Milk in the oatmeal. Or cereal, whatever I end up having. Usually it's oatmeal. Almost a 4-second lead for Dale Jr. 13 to go this time by. Not a great day for the other 2 DEI cars of Martin Truex Jr. and Michael Waltrip. Unlike the Southern 500 last time, but that's because they were on the wrong side of a lot of the cautions during green flag pit stops earlier today. Truex was back outside the top 35 the last we saw of him, and Waltrip was outside the top 20. Both 4 and 5 laps down, and that was still with over 100 laps to go. And that was after the first 2 cautions during green flag pit stops, not even counting the 3rd one. I don't think they pitted before that one, so they might have actually gained some positions. They definitely didn't gain any more laps. Quarter tank of gas left, 11 to go. Correct you if you're wrong, but 1 attempt at a get-go. I'm assuming you meant green-white checker. In real life, that was the rule in 05. But in this game, it's not consistent with it. And if we get down really late in the race and something like that happens, it doesn't always restart us. It does sometimes. I think twice we've actually ended up with a green-white checker because of it, but the other times it's ended under yellow without an attempt. So it's not quite accurate in this game. A little bit of a glitch with it. No problem, Wade. You're just in time for the finish, though. Five-second lead now for Dale Jr. with 8 to go. Plenty of fuel in the tank. He's managed his tires well throughout this last run. I don't even know that he's going to even catch any lap cars at the end of the race. He doesn't really need to push hard to do so either. I don't think he wants to with all the cautions we've seen today. just in case somebody were to spin in front of him again like they did very early in the race. Our Crypto, welcome into the stream. You're also just in time for the finish. Definitely a lot of action at the action track tonight. Kind of calmer finish after that restart with 35 laps to go. Dale Jr. nailed it and started to pull away, but up until that point, it was far from over, and we had some great battles. Mainly Jr. just trying to dodge the wrecking cars periodically throughout the course of the race was most of the challenge. He was actually lapped down at one point in the first half of the race. Had some quick yellows to get back on the lead lap. Racing his way through there on a few restarts on fresher tires. He's really only a lap down for maybe 50 laps at the most. Quickly got it back and still is going to go on to lead over 300 by the end of this race. Late enough now that a caution comes out, the race will likely end under yellow. So he's not really worried about if we do see a 12th caution. Got a few yellows end races already in all three series. 3 to go right now for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Just over the last handful of laps, he's grown another second over second place Kevin Harvick. Harvick going to remain winless on the year, but Dale Jr. is going to pick up his 5th of the season. Again, this will be his 4th win in the last 6 races. It'll be 5 finishes of second or better in the last 6 races. What a hot streak for this number 8 team. They're going to close on Carl Edwards a bit more in the standings. Maybe even take the points lead after this race for the first time this season. We'll have to see after we get through the finishing results. Still driving it hard into 3 and 4. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for Dale Earnhardt Jr. The race will end under green. We have reached the final lap. No cautions. The EA Sports games on the final lap. Gets to the inside of Shane Meal. He's just going to let him go into 3 and 4. Not going to risk it at all here. Checker flag will be waving on the other side of the front stretch, and it'll be Dale Earnhardt Jr. winning his 5th race of the season and winning the first of 2 Richmond races this season. Jr. trying to prove that this is going to be the season in which he wins his first NASCAR Nextel Cup Series championship. And what a year it has been so far. If only I could turn things around in the Busch Series. We'll see tomorrow night if he can get the Richmond sweep. His only Busch Series win on the season came on a short track. So that could bode well for him tomorrow. You have enough fuel for the burnout? Yes, I do. Plenty of it. I had more than 1/8 of a tank of fuel left yet. So we'll check out the finishing results to today's race. And actually, Jimmy Johnson ended up stealing 2nd place away from Harvick. 330 laps led today for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He is just shy of 1,000 laps led on the season. He sits at 994 laps led. I knew he was going to be close with how many laps he led today. He was just 6 laps shy of hitting the 1,000 mark, so he'll be trying to do that on Thursday during the Coke 600 then. The 5th win of the season for Dale Jr. is 6th top 5 and his 7th top 10 now. Dominating day, max points day to go along with it. Jimmy Johnson ends up finishing at 2nd. He led 1 lap today. Kevin Harvick led 18, finishing 3rd. Kenseth finished 4th with 6 laps led. And Mike Bliss had a quiet but stellar day. Finished on the lead lap in the top 5. Another top 5 for Mike Bliss. He might make the chase this season. That'd be incredible. Another rookie, Travis Kvapil, finishes in 6th place. He had his fair share of incidents today, but he survived still to finish on the lead lap. I don't know how, but he did. He was without a hood at the end of the race. First car lap down, Ryan Newman finished in 7th. Mark Martin got involved in a wreck. He finished 8th. Kurt Busch in ninth, and Brian Vickers rounded out the top 10. Kurt Busch led 44 laps today. Vickers was involved in like 2 accidents too and still got a top 10. So a lot of cars that were involved in wrecks still ended up getting top 10s. Michael Waltrip finished 4 laps down in 29th. And Truex finished 5 laps down in 35th. They were way off for Dale Earnhardt Jr., who dominated. And the drivers who DNF'd today, just 3 of them. Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, and Darrell Sykes blew engines. 2 of the Roush Fenway Fords. And one of which was the points leader, Carl Edwards, who qualified second, didn't lead a lap. So not a lot of points for Edwards. I think that is going to give Dale Jr. his first points lead of the season. He's not going to have a big lead, but it is going to be the first points lead of the year for Dale Jr. It took 12 races, but we got it. We'll check out those point standings right here, right now. How about Mike Bliss? I know, another top 5 for Bliss. Coke 600 on Thursday. On this game, good luck for me making it to the finish. Mile and a halves are so tough on this game. They're so slippery. And this is the season they grained the Charlotte Motor Speedway, so there's going to be a lot of lack of grip, and we might actually recreate the 2005 Coke 600 knowing this game. We might have 22 cautions. That's going to be an interesting one to watch for a bunch of different reasons on Thursday. But yeah, Dale Jr. came in 142 out of first. Didn't think he was going to take the points lead today, but that DNF from Edwards on lap 18 nonetheless. Blowing an engine. And Jr. getting the max points today will give him the lead. Like I said, not by much, 11 points. Dale Jr. leads over Edwards. First lead in the standings for Dale Jr. this season. And this is the first time I've led in points for any of the 3 series, so that's pretty good. I'm liking it. Jimmy Johnson in third, 101 out of first. Tony Stewart fourth, 124 out of first. Kurt Busch, 136 out of first and fifth. So top 5 after 12 races, still all within 1 race worth of points of each other. So it is still tight. Kenseth, 173 back. He's not all that far back either. And Mike Bliss, well, the top 5 today, is still 10th in the point standings. Ryan Newman, who finished 7th, didn't lose many points to him. And those two are separated by just 16 points for that last spot in the chase. We'll be halfway through the regular season. We're after 11 races, so we're 2 races away from being halfway through the regular season. Still a long ways to go before the chase yet. We have 15 races. Kevin Harvick, who finished in 3rd today, great run. He needed a good points day. He's on the outside. Could you imagine if Harvick misses the chase? It might replicate real life this year. Talk about this season almost being like the next gen car. How these cars are driving. Truex is back to 18th after a rough finish today. And Michael Waltrip lost 1 spot in the standings, falls from 20th to 21st. Junior might be the only DEI car in the playoffs at this rate. It's not impossible. Again, we still have 15 races left until the chase. But that is going to be all she wrote tonight. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in once again. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be the running of our Richmond Busch Series race. And it's going to be an epic one because tonight we had maybe a wreck fest at times. We had 11 cautions, which tied the most we've had in a cup race this season. A shorter race tomorrow. Maybe we won't have as many yellows, but the Busch Series has been probably the wildest of the 3 series. More unpredictable, I guess, of them. With the yellow flag factor and the caution factor of it all. But we'll see. Maybe Dale Jr. can start a comeback. We're leading in the points for the first time in the Cup Series. Busch Series, we have a couple less races to go in the season. It's a season-long points format, so 15th of points. Nothing's going to get reset with the chase because there is no chase. So 369 back, 15th of points. We need to start climbing ourselves out. And I think that comeback starts tomorrow night because Dale Jr. was bad fast tonight in the Cup race. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, everybody.